Are you a forward thinker? Then you need an HR and finance platform that thinks like you do. Workday is the AI platform that helps propel your organization, your workforce, and your industry into the future. Workday, moving business forever forward.
Welcome to Board Games Anonymous, the podcast where everyone is welcome to the table, but of course, no one knows whose turn it is. This is Chris.
Hey, and this is Anthony.
And this is episode 513, BGA Fantasy Board Game Draft, month number 1. We'd like to thank all our Patreon backers for helping us unlock a brand new episode, but especially our new supporter, John. John, thanks so much, my friend. You rock. All right, everyone, we are here. And we are talking about some serious cardboard this week. How you doing, Anthony?
Doing good. Got some gaming in.
Gaming?
It's weird.
What?
I know.
These boards, they game.
They game. You play them, they happen, they do stuff, and everybody's like,
Ooh.
oh, what do you think of this game? And I'm like, oh, you have to listen to the podcast.
They are their own little mystery boxes.
They are. No, it's cool. We got together at Level Up. We talked about it the last couple weeks, and it was pretty much just 3 days of playing games. It was awesome.
Yeah, the Level Up retreat, lots of fun. Happened in Woodbridge, New Jersey. A lot of people came out. Our friends Chris and Aaron from Board Games for the Better were there. Our buddy Will, who's been on the podcast talking about RPGs, was there. Some of our other gamers from the different groups locally in New Jersey were hitting us up. And I did a presentation on accessibility, mental health, and neurodiversity, which was quite good. Got to meet a lot of very cool people who care about their fellow gamers, and one particular person who DMs online with a bunch of great gamers out there, and she really makes sure that everyone's included, especially when we all have challenges at the table. And she really wanted to know more and had some really great ideas. And it's just always good to meet gamers, because gamers are all about hosting, about bringing people to the table. And it's so wonderful when people go the extra mile to make sure that everyone has a place. And again, that's what the podcast is about. But again, the podcast is out there because all these great people are out there. And that's why we got into gaming. So bravo to her and to everybody else out there who's making space for other players.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it was a good time with Happy All. And we got to play a lot of great games. Any favorites there, Anthony, over the weekend?
Yeah, it's always the question, right? We really dug in on Fellowship of the Ring trick taking game.
We did. We do quite well on that.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. Like, I reviewed it last week.
Uh-huh.
So it's, we talked about it quite a bit last week's episode, but you and I played with Joe as well as Will and got about halfway through. So
that's good.
There are, I guess, more than halfway through, but there's like part 1 and part 2. So
sure.
we got through part 1. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. Got to play Endeavor Deep Sea for the first time.
Very good.
So that was really cool. Friend of the show and manager of our Discord channel, Kelber, was there.
Kelber!
He taught us the game, which was awesome because I didn't have to try to remember all the rules from my YouTube viewings. So that was great. I got to teach you SETI, so that was fun.
Yes.
To spread the good word of SETI.
There was a lot of tables with a lot of SETI happening.
Yeah. I mean, it is the hotness at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, a lot of great games, a lot of fun. We'll be talking about one of those games on the episode. I'll give my little mini review since you gave your major reviews on a couple of these games. And obviously these are first plays. The Lord of the Rings, the tricky-taking game that we were playing, I enjoyed it a lot. I mean, again, I'm a big fan of Lord of the Rings, so a little bit as far as thematic's concerned, not a big surprise. I like that. But I will say, and this was my comment previously, which someone brought up to me at the retreat, is when I play Deep Sea Adventure, I think that game is okay. But I considering the game is very mechanical and it's a co-op trick-taking game, and it's kind of fun to play through it, but I couldn't tell you a thing about any particular mission whatsoever.
You're talking about the crew?
The crew. Yeah, the Deep Sea one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that version of it is good mechanically, abstractly, but there is no real artwork to it. There's no theming to it so much, and there's no story to it. So this actually had very nice artwork, very good theming, but I think the thing that really stuck out for me was the character selection.
Mm-hmm.
In the later matches / rounds that we played, it was essential that you picked the right characters based upon the characters that needed to be picked, and then picked the correct supplementary characters, and then everyone still needs to deliver. So that was excellent. So if you like co-op trick-taking games, and I do, this one's definitely a buy for me.
Yeah, it's really fantastic. Like, I'd played it, obviously I reviewed it last week, I played it a fair bit, but I haven't gotten through all of it, and getting to sit and play it for a good 3 or 4 hours over the weekend with different groups, and kind of working through those different combinations, it was really fun. And I'm excited for the sequels, right? Like, I want to finish this one, but like, sure, I'm assuming and hoping that they're going to have the Two Towers and Return of the King and other stuff. So it's very cool.
Yeah, and it's not difficult to teach at all, because the characters kind of make sense and they keep coming back. So if you've learned one character, you're going to probably play that character again at some point.
Right.
So you get a vibe of what you should be doing or can be doing. And I think this is something that you can kind of teach people to play too, if you're going to play a co-op trick-taking game. And it plays a good range of players at the table. And the artwork is nice and clean and bright. So I'm looking forward to picking this up and hopefully getting to the table soon. SETI, I got my first play. It's too early for me to give this a definitive review at this point. I enjoyed it, but it was a lot to initially take in.
Yeah.
So I did quite well considering it was my first play. Came in second in that game to you, Anthony, who was just like crushing it.
I felt bad about that.
No, it was fine. But it is, there's obviously the going out to the planets and landing kind of mechanic, which I invested in, because it seemed like you and the other player were investing in a lot of the scanning.
Yeah.
And so you and Joe had the scanning, and I was just like, well, that's kind of really already super challenged. Let me get out of here. Let me go to a different solar system, outside the solar system. And that was beneficial for me, but I think you have to be able to juggle both of those things simultaneously. And I think that's the thing that really, when those two pieces come together, I think it makes like a full, complete experience. So I think I play a second time, invest a little bit more in the scanning situation. Again, I have to see what the other players are doing. And then obviously I think that'll give me a full sense of the game itself.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It's a hard game to like wrap your head fully around the first time through. I think both you and Joe were like in the same ballpark of the scores I saw in my first play. And with a lot of the same challenges. So it definitely grows on you over time, which is tough because it's so long. Like, oh, you got to play it a few times and really wrap your head around it. It's like, it's 3 hours. So
there's a lot on the board that you have to kind of pay attention to. And then the sun and the inner planets are kind of moving also. And that's a dynamic. So you have the inner movements that are going to, kind of challenge you as far as your own, satellite probe movements are. So it's like, oh, there's a movement thing. I have to keep an eye on this and I have to consider this. And then again, the scanning and the landing, but then the cards are a whole different thing. It's a very large deck with a lot of great diversity to it. And they're multi-use cards. So I felt like the multi-use cards, I love multi-use cards. I thought they were good. But again, I would have liked them separated, more like Underwater Cities, where they kind of ramp up, or something where they're more of an extensive market, or at least different decks. Like, I want the mission cards, I want action cards, I want endgame cards. This way I can kind of build more of a strategy, because getting cards is difficult. And since you could use the cards for almost anything, then they're being spent for a lot of other things as well. So yeah, good game. I'm looking forward to getting to the table again.
Cool.
Excellent. And then I guess at a future point, we'll talk Endeavor.
Yeah, we'll circle back to that one because we're going to play it more. And we'll probably do a full review here.
Yeah. There's a lot to be said about it. And we played with a lot of people.
Right.
So, and yeah, and there's a lot of missions on that too. So we'll come back to that one. But overall, good retreat. Thanks to everyone from Level Up for hosting us as special guests. We appreciate it. And we look forward to going back next year. All right, Anthony. So that's a little bit what's going on with us. What's coming up for BGA?
Yeah, so stay tuned. Next week, we're going to have our Voice of the Gamers. We're going to be talking about Board Game Geek's recent Hall of Fame announcements. Everybody has thoughts, opinions, problems, questions, concerns. So we ask you, and hopefully you answered, along with everybody else, what game would you add to that list? And if you have to add a game, you have to take a game off. So what game should come off the list to accommodate the game that you're adding? So we're going to do a little theory crafting on the Board Game Geek Hall of Fame next week.
Excellent.
Yep. So stay tuned for that. Next week, we're also going to be starting our new BG After Show. So this will be our bonus episode every week or two on after the podcast. It'll come out on Thursday, the day after the main show, and you'll be able to hear us talk about whatever it is we were talking about. So we'll be talking about articles that are posted. We'll be talking about movies and TV shows we've been watching. There's a lot of things coming up. So we'll give you a little sneak peek preview next week of what that episode will be. And if you want to listen to it, you need to back us on Patreon at the producer level or higher. And there are, I think, 60 or 70 of those episodes already up, covering everything from our top 10 lists to a bunch of fun episodes. We do some look backs on our really early episodes. If you want to hear us like revisit and re-review games that we played for episode like 4, you can do that in our bonus backlog. So check that out. It's all on patreon.com/BGA.
This is the really controversial stuff that we can't talk about in the podcast, right?
Oh, yeah. We go crazy.
Ooh, it's after hours, man. That's when the stuff gets
after
real.
hours. You don't know. Yeah, that's the thing is like before we record and sometimes after we get a little ranty,
especially at the end.
A little at the end. So we have to keep it, relatively even keel for the show. And after hours, man, for the backers,
that's crazy stuff.
Curtains up, it's fine. Curtains down, I don't know, whichever way that goes. It'll be fun. So if you want to check that out, it's on the Patreon. Only on the Patreon.
And again, thank you for backing us and the new supporters and new producers. It means a lot to us. And don't forget, if you are listening to this episode on podcast players or on YouTube, like, subscribe, review. And if you're on Patreon, there's no commercials.
Right? Ad free.
Yeah.
And it's up at the same time. You get it maybe even a little bit early.
Excellent. And you get all the extra content. And so glad to have so many of you on Discord. Really great conversations being had there. So, and everyone can join on Discord too.
Yeah. Discord's open to everybody. There are some Patreon exclusive channels on Discord that you'll see. They're marked very clearly. But the whole Patreon or the whole Discord now is open for the public.
Yeah. We welcome to everyone to the table. We hope that you join us. And again, thank you for doing so because you're the ones who make this podcast possible.
Yep.
Well, Anthony, speaking of which, let's talk about the state of play with BGA. What's our weekly review?
Yeah. So, like, as you're saying, Chris, it's super awesome when you all give us your feedback, your support, all that stuff. And you don't need to, back us financially if you can't afford it. Obviously, don't do that. But you can support us by leaving a review on your podcast player of choice. Over on Apple Podcasts, we got a review this week from P. Stank, who says, Stanky? Sorry, I know I'm probably saying your name wrong. But we asked for haikus last week. Chris, you asked for haikus.
I did.
And we got one. So, this is a 5-star review, by the way. Rolling dice, bold moves. Voices share secrets of play. Board joy fills the air.
Very nice. I like
Beautiful.
that.
Beautiful. So it's a 5-star review. It's a haiku. So thank you so much for your review. And for anybody out there, if you haven't had a chance to yet, please leave your comments, your thoughts. It helps more people find the show. It tells us that you're listening, which is awesome. And we get to read fun haikus on the air.
Yeah. Please leave any kind of review. The more detailed, the longer, the better. Just letting people know about the podcast. And as Anthony said, we want you to join us at the table. This podcast is for you. So let's get on with the fun. All right, Anthony. So hopefully that's what's going on with everybody out there in the board gaming world. Let's get on to the games that we want to talk about and get to the table. So it's on you, Anthony. Roll for preview.
Roll for preview. All right. I feel like every game these days is a Lord of the Rings game.
Why is that?
I don't know. There's no new movie. The show that's on, nobody likes. It's not.
Well, to be fair, there was a movie in December. If we think
there was, but nobody watched it.
I saw it. It was good.
We watched it. Nobody else watched it.
Oh,
that movie was on streaming in like 2.5 weeks. That's not good. So,
that's true.
It was fun though. You should watch it.
I did watch it.
The listeners should watch it.
That's what they should listen to. They should watch it. I agree. That's what they should do.
But yeah, more Lord of the Rings games. So we've got Fellowship or the Ring Trick Taking game just came out. The Confrontation Game Found campaign goes up in like a week. And another new announcement was just made last week before. I can't remember exactly when. It's from Z-Man Games, and it is the Lord of the Rings Fate of the Fellowship. And you guessed it, folks. It's Lord of the Rings Pandemic.
It's bound to happen.
Right? I'm surprised it took this long. We got Game of Thrones. We got Star Wars. Like, wait a second. You know what has a small group of people trying to survive insurmountable odds and weave their way through a very difficult map? Lord of the Rings. That's literally that's what it is.
As the darkness spreads over the lands.
Right. It's such a perfect theme for this.
Yeah.
So this is exactly what it sounds like, right? You are members of the Fellowship. There are allies trying to help you out. You are setting out, navigating the world. Shadows is spreading and choking everything. There are a bunch of different objectives, events, 13 playable characters.
Only 13?
13, right? And I was surprised by that because you only really need the 9. But hey, let's go for 13.
Why not? More the merrier.
Yeah, we can do more. So it's definitely got the pandemic vibes, right? There's a map. There are cards corresponding to different locations on the map. You'll be able to play those and move things and interact with the map accordingly. But it's a big production for pandemic purposes. You have this substantial tower that's gonna allow you to kind of randomize things with the Eye of Sauron at the top. Great table presence. You have these little figures with the Nazgul. You have little wooden meeples representing the Fellowship and the other characters involved. And it's great. And part of me is like, I love it. And the other part of me is worried it's going to be really expensive. Because if you remember, the Wrath of the Lich King pandemic was like $50.
Sure.
Which is a lot for a normally $30 game. Star Wars, The Clone Wars, which was the pandemic version of Star Wars, that was $50. This has even more over-the-top production with miniatures and cube towers and all sorts of crazy stuff. So I'm a little worried about cost. And obviously you have the Lord of the Rings license tapped on there as well. But it looks cool. So I think Miniature Market has it up for pre-order at $70. I don't know if that'll drop. Yeah, right. It's $70 for a pandemic. I don't know. But I don't know, man. It's cool looking.
Who's the publisher?
It's Z-Man.
Okay, so
it's the pandemic company because that's all they make anymore.
Yeah. So this is Asmodee.
Yeah.
So this will have Asmodee pricing on it.
Yeah, exactly.
So
$70. Yep.
Yeah. So we won't see a big discount on this.
No, maybe, and not unless it sells poorly.
Which I don't think it will.
No, I mean it could. The Star Wars one eventually went on discount. The World of Warcraft one eventually went on discount. You could get both of those for like $20-$30 if you know where to look.
But was that hitting? Those were hitting big box stores, right?
They were, yeah.
Is this one? Do we think this one is?
I don't know. At that price, it's hard to tell.
Because I think they only went on discount because they hit the big box stores and people are not ready for those things. Because I remember the Game of Thrones one coming out and everyone being very excited about it. And then it just kind of sat there. I think that was the Catan one. The Catan one came out there for Game of Thrones. And then I think it was like 90 or something.
It was so much money.
Yeah.
And they were selling it at Target.
Yeah.
It's like, nobody's buying that at Target. What are you doing? Yeah, so I don't know. Like, there's pre-orders up at the local game stores, and this is like a thing they've been doing. Like the Duel for Middle Earth, that was Asmodee too, and that that was definitely pushed through local game stores, and like the promos and stuff could only be gotten through local game stores. Like I got the promo because I ordered from a local game store in another state, and they mailed it. It seems like they're doing the same thing here. There's a Gandalf promo that you get if you pre-order from your local store. So, boo, but also I want it. But also boo. But also I said I'm not buying games this year. So,
just last of February. There you go, buddy.
Hey, no, I haven't bought it yet. I'm still on the horse, still on that wagon.
We should actually take a poll. How long does it take? How long do you all think it's going to take for Anthony to break?
Oh man,
he did make it through January, so let's all give him applause for that.
I did, yes. I had a new game with me at Level Up, and people were like, "Oh, you bought a game?" I'm like, "No, I bought this in December.
There you go.
Pre-ordered. It showed up in January."
Yes.
So yeah, I don't know. I like some of the Pandemic formula games. I don't think I love any of them except like Legacy, but this is not that. So I don't. What do you think they would need to do with this to make it like? Because I think you're cooler on Pandemic even than I am. So like, what do we need from this for it to be good?
Yeah, I have a weird relationship with it. Like, I don't like Pandemic.
Right.
I haven't played the Legacy ones, which obviously I hear are fantastic. I just don't. I don't like that. I don't like a game where you could just the deck is built and you could lose.
Right.
And I think there's always a problem with the kind of alpha gamer situation.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always a problem. Sometimes there's a problem with the kind of formula thing. Like there's always a best move. So, but but now here's the opposite. I love Defenders of the Realm.
Right.
Which also uses the Pandemic mechanisms.
But with dice.
And also your character has its own set of special abilities and such, and you could kind of do your own thing. So it is somewhat mitigated.
Right. It's just hard to know. Like, and some of the Pandemic formula games are they're Pandemic system, but they're not Pandemic-y, right?
Yes.
Like there's the one made by the Splotter guys about building dikes and dams in the Netherlands.
I like the Roman one.
The Fate of Rome is great.
Yeah. That's my favorite out of the like hardcore Pandemic ones.
Right. This one has dice, by the way.
So
if that helps.
I mean, again, the easy answer for me is it needs to be more like Defenders of the Realm. And by that, I mean, which I think they probably will do, the roles have to have enough significant differences in powers. Because like in the original Pandemic, it's like your person does a thing.
Right.
And then when you're playing the game, you're like, oh, we need this thing. Only one person does it. So you, the person who does that, right? You need to do that thing. And you're like, but I wanted to do this thing. Like, no, you're the only person who can do this.
Right.
You have to do that thing. So I think what they need to do just philosophically is make sure that with any Pandemic, it doesn't come down to an alpha gamer being needed to solve an equation, more or less.
Yeah, that's a good call. I think that's a big part of it. We'll see. It looks like this one's bigger, longer.
Okay.
They're saying like an hour to 2.5 hours, which is on the high end for a Pandemic system game.
Does it say specifically which of these 9 characters these are?
It's 13 characters, so
13.
I'm assuming it's all 9 of the Fellowship.
And okay, because I would like to see, if you ask me what I would really want, other than the philosophical, thematic, kind of mechanical elements.
Right.
I would like to see how, I guess, it's, many versus one. I would like to see some evil characters that you get to play as, and maybe you're kind of directing the spread a little bit. I think that would be fun on the other side of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if a Pandemic game's ever done that.
They should, and they should pay me money because I'm trademarking it right now. I called it.
Trademarking it.
I just trademarked the idea.
Yeah, that's okay.
This podcast, it counts as a legal thing.
A legal thing. This is a legal thing.
That's what our legal lawyers said. So there.
Call it a thing, guys, and you're good. Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to see it played. I think the production is maybe even a little over the top, which maybe to justify cost. Who knows? Like, do I need a dice tower? No, but is it cool that it's borrowed door? Yes. I don't know. We'll see. Artwork looks cool. It's different. They went in a different like stylistic direction, which I think is pretty cool. Some people have been complaining about it, but I don't mind Super Round Sam. I don't know.
Super Round Sam.
He's pretty squat. Have you seen the picture?
I took a brief look.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Sam.
Poor Sam. Yeah, I know. But yeah, it comes out in June. I think they're saying the pre-orders start shipping in June 6th. Then it's retailed June 25th.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So hopefully they've used my idea, and that'd be fine because, as we all know, and if you're keeping track, it's fine. It is what it is. It's a thing. It does a thing, and it's a legal thing. So there you go.
Boom! You covered it all right there.
That's another thing to add to your thing list. If you're keeping track of the Chris things.
If this is a drinking game, you are drunk right now.
You're done. Make sure it's seltzer, folks. That's my drink of choice. Seltzer with a little fruit juice or flavor or lemon in it. That's awesome.
Listen responsibly.
That's right. Keep it for the after show, folks. Come on.
Yeah. Okay. Wait for next week. It's coming.
That's when the crazy stuff starts to happen.
Right. All right. Well, it looks cool. Maybe it'll be on Board Game Arena and we can try it.
Yeah.
Then I don't have to buy
it. Look, everything you own is Lord of the Rings. I've seen your plays.
I do. I have all of them.
So how are you not buying this to add to your collection? You could wait a year.
I could wait a year and be a normal person and not just buy it the day it comes out. That's a good idea.
But once you get the Gandalf promo...
Ooh, you know what I do is I wait and then I can get a gift that's a game because I haven't gotten a game for a gift in like 8 years.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Valentine's Day is coming up. What do you say?
Yeah.
Talk to the wife.
I want this board game. She's like, you're going to buy it for yourself. I'm like, no, I'm not. She's like, yeah, you are.
I need a legal loophole, honey.
I want the game. It's still our money. That's fine, but you're buying it.
Good times. Something to do for Valentine's Day. It's a new thing.
Yeah. All right, folks. So there you have it. That's our roll for preview. We will maybe talk about that game over the summer if one of us breaks, i.e. if I break.
Get your bets now in, folks. Over under.
Does he make it till July? We'll see.
If he sees it in person, he's going to pick it up. So that's
probably.
Also, that's a thing.
Thankfully, I don't live next to a game store anymore. Pittsburgh was rough. It was like 5-minute walk from my house.
Yeah, you get those impulse buys.
For sure.
All right. Now for our roll for review before Anthony gets any more tempted. Get off that webpage, Anthony. Get off that webpage.
It's closed. I closed it.
This is why this is literally the worst thing that we could have ever done as completionist gamers is do a podcast about board games that makes us want to buy other board games.
Yeah, the acquisition disorder / roll for preview over the years has definitely cost me a lot of money.
Yes.
I will say.
Yeah. They're like, do people buy games based on your podcast? I'm like, yes, they do.
We do.
Especially us. All right. Well, the game that you and I got to play this past weekend, Anthony, but also I got to try this out at a local game store from one of our good friends is Golden Cup. Came out in 2024. And it's all about joining the Fantasphere with your team. That description doesn't make any sense on
Board Game
Geek. That's a bad description.
Writing.
So, one of the designers we know quite well, Simone Luciani, co-designer here on this game, and this game was produced by Cranio Creation. So, I'm going to give you, obviously, some of the text from this, just give you a general idea, but let me just cut to the chase to start off with, because again, when you're teaching a game or you're doing a review, you should let people know what generally the outcomes and what you're looking for instead of like minutia. So, have you ever played Challengers, Anthony?
No.
All right, we're off the bat. Sorry. All of the listeners out there, have you ever played Challengers?
Yes,
All
I have.
There you go. Nice. All right. So, Challengers, if you have not played it, Anthony, it's a deck building game in which you build a team of wacky characters from different classes of types of people, and each round you add to your deck, and then you face off against another challenger, and then your deck kind of plays automatically. You kind of flip the cards out, and then Each round you match up. Whoever has the highest strength wins. Those cards go out. Then another one of your card comes in, and back and forth until there's the last player standing, and you score the points for that particular round. So that is the general mechanical premise of Golden Cup. You play against a number of players in this game. It plays best at 6, but you can also play this at 4 is also a good number, because you're given a little season card, and it tells you what your challengers are based upon the players at the table, based on which field you're going to play at. If you don't have an equal number of players, you'll play with a bot, and you have a little team that's automatically set up for you. You have a player board with 4 fantasy characters that are going to be on, I guess we're going to call it soccer, football, right?
Quidditch.
The bull, I don't know. The bull.
There's little hoops on sticks. It's Quidditch.
It's a combination of things, to say the least.
The cover is a big ball and a bat. It's Quidditch.
All right. I'm trying to keep it legally distinct here.
I mean, our podcast is safe. We're not helping Cranio, but
legally distinct. It's a thing.
Yeah.
So yes, it's Quidditch, soccer, football, baseball, hockey kind of thing, but it's fantasy. It doesn't matter what the sport is.
No.
Basically, what it comes down to is you have 4 initial starting characters on your player board. They're all embarrassingly bad. They're so embarrassingly bad that every time that they take a shot on the goal, you're going to lose a trophy point. So that seems like a problem. Not to worry, because at the beginning of the round, you'll have an opportunity to get initial cash. And based on that cash, you could choose to add a upgraded player to your player board, covering one of those very embarrassing bad players. That's typically going to give you a special ability that you're going to be able to use through the game. Sometimes it gives you extra tokens. Sometimes it benefits you in other ways as far as scoring trophy points. And as the game goes on, you're going to be constantly upgrading your team with new players that are going to give you new special abilities. And based upon the money that comes in, you'll be able to do more things like higher upgraded characters from Bronze League to Silver to Gold. And in addition to that, you'll be able to produce new tokens and upgraded tokens, because guess what? It's a bag builder. So instead of like Challengers, which it has deck building, you kind of flip cards over. In this game, the new and upgraded characters, along with you spending money, you are going to upgrade tokens. There are 2 types of tokens that you're going to be able to add to the bag. One token is defense, and that goes from 1 to 4. And there's also strike attack cards, and that goes from 1 to 4. So your job, ideally, is to get as many tokens as you can into the bag. The opponent puts their tokens into the same bag. There's 4 timeout tokens that are just kind of used to, like, slow and even the game out a little bit and make it non-deterministic. And then you're going to pull tokens from the bag that are going to go on this little legally distinct Quidditch board. And it doesn't matter which player pulls them. You're just going to pull them out and play them to the board. And if you're in a situation where you have a strike, a scoring token, based upon that number, minus any defensive tokens that are previously in that arc of tokens that came out, you're going to roll a die or 2 dice, again, depending on what characters you have in play. And if you hit that particular number of the player that's required, so there's a player that only scores with 6, there's a player that scores with 6 and 5, there's a player who scores 4, 5, and 6, and then there's a player who scores 3, 4, 5, and 6. So you obviously want to have the highest number available, so it has the most die roll hits. You roll the die, you get the right number, and you score a goal. The token flips over. That shows that the goal has been scored, and you'll play all the tokens until it gets to a certain number based upon the player count, and then you tally up your score. Sometimes it's 0-0, 1-2, 3-4, so on. You score victory points based upon the outcome. If you win, you get points. If you tie, you get a little points. And again, depending on how much you win, you gain additional points. There's also 2 tiles on the bottom. One is the upgraded stadium that gives you additional money, and one is the upgrade scout that's going to give you additional victory points, as well as being able to recruit better players throughout the game. So you'll play this over 6 different rounds, going to different fields. Ideally, sometimes you'll actually stay on the same field, but you'll have different opponents throughout. It's usually pretty equalized as far as who you're going to be playing during those matches. At the end of the game, the 2 highest players will play one final round. There'll be points awarded, and then you count up all your points, including all your players' special end game abilities. Whoever has the most points wins. And that's Golden Cup. What'd you think, Anthony?
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. I like the bag building element of it, and like the quick-ish nature of like the face-off. It's one of those games that it feels like a silly party-ish type thing, but then it has just a few too many mechanics in it to actually be that. Like, you just kind of have to stop, and you have to do the whole thing, and you have to pay attention to what you're doing. And then there's the kind of core mechanism of like buying the cards and the upgrades to make your team better is like stopgapped with this like whole thing with like having to upgrade the stadium and then upgrade your availability, the types of people you can recruit. And we were talking about this yesterday, like, can you even realistically do all of that? Like, there was 5 of us, nobody got to the gold cards at the end of the game.
Which is really bad.
Yeah, that seems bad, and that's not fun. I got to the silver cards in like the second to last round, and they were extremely powerful. I'm like, what's the gold card then? Just you score 5 points automatically? I don't know. So it makes me wonder, like, what's the point of that? And the bag building part was fun. It's fine, and you can face off, and it is perfectly random. You have no agency once you start pulling things out of the bag. But it's I don't know. It was a fun experience, but the more I think about it, I think it's because of the people I was playing with. I don't think I liked the game very much.
So if you play Challengers, the fun in Challengers is the deck building, Anthony. It's not at all about the actual playing, because basically when you play Challengers, it might as well be a computer. It's automatically flipping the cards. Like if you were playing War, remember as a kid you played the game War?
Yeah.
Same thing here when you play Challengers. There are some cards that let you choose, what card comes out next or how you arrange the cards in the deck, but that's few and far between. It plays auto as far as that's concerned. The real fun of Challengers is that deck building element. Here, there is not a deck building so much, but a tableau building element where you decide how you're putting the characters out.
Kinda.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem we ran into, I think we all ran into, is there's bronze, silver, and gold characters. I was able to field a very good team based on bronze characters. Now, that's not bad, right? Because if other players wanted to do other things, like just field bronze, they rationally should have a way to win. Now, I got lucky because I got 2 bronze characters that special ability was kind of manipulating the bag. And they were very powerful, but also it's random. So I could have pulled something from the bag that was all my tokens, and it doesn't help. At the same point, thematically, the bronze characters, again, beyond the randomness that we do acknowledge, should never really be as strong or as good as the silver and gold. And The fact that I got to the final round with all bronze people, again, a little luck, but I don't think that should have been a thing. And I think everyone at the end of the game should have had at least one gold character at play.
Yeah.
So what we felt, and we talked about this at the table, Anthony, was very much like the stadium determines how much money you're going to be able to play, and you start with 4. And there's a lot of cards that take money away from you because you've hired probably an expensive player. So there's kind of some counterbalancing going on here. But most of the game, I was just playing one character out and maybe upgrading one token, and that was it. And that's not fun.
No, yeah, and it's like I won the game. I had 1 silver card out at the end, and the way I won is I kept getting cards that let me roll 2 dice on each number, so I always had 2 options. Like, it just increased my odds for every single roll, which some people didn't see any of those cards, and that's part of it too. It's like kind of the randomness of the draw. I didn't see any cards like yours that let me manipulate the bag, but nobody else saw the cards like mine that let me roll 2 or 3 dice at a time. So at the end, for any of the 4 numbers, I was rolling at least 2 dice.
Yes.
So I was hitting most of my rolls. And when I missed them, I was like, oh, well.
But
like,
even then, I beat you in that final round, but you won by points.
Right.
And that really shouldn't have been a thing because you had better characters. And don't get me wrong, there's the Bad News Bears, there's Ted Lasso's team. There are bad teams that can, and 100% all the time, do win. Like, that does happen. But it shouldn't have happened so often. And I think this game has a very easy fix with an expansion, or at least an errata. And I think you just, instead of doing the upgraded stadium where you go, 4, 5, 6, I think you just do 6.
Yeah.
I think you just give people 6 money, and then it allows them the opportunity to put out more characters on the board, upgrade more tokens, or upgrade for new players, silver and gold cards.
Right. Yeah. You make it 6 every round. You make the stadium upgrade, or the player upgrade cost 4 instead of 3, and so they guaranteed can't get gold characters until at least the 3rd round, and then fine, right? It'll be fine from there. Yeah, it felt like it was hamstringing us for like no particular reason except to drag it out.
Yeah, I think if you just give people more money, I think again they can decide what they can still have the openness of the gameplay. They can just spend money on upgrading tokens and keep bronze, or they can go up to gold and kind of have a little bit less. But I think the cards not being utilized, because we looked at the gold cards at the end, they looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and we didn't get to play with them, and we had
it was a whole deck of cards. Like
we had 6 players at the table, and nobody had a gold card.
Yeah,
and we're all pretty good gamers at the table, and we all know how to meta the system a little bit,
right?
And at the end, it was just like that should not be a thing.
Yeah,
and in a game where you're going to have rolling the dice, you really want to have that mitigation with the gold characters.
Sure.
So, and again, higher scores are a lot more fun. I mean, these are very soccer scores, 0-0, 1-1-0.
That is true. Yeah, we talk about Quidditch. It's not Quidditch scoring.
No,
it's soccer.
So, and again, there's defensive tokens in there, which are fine, but considering the defensive token is stopping the rolling, and then the rolling is also not guaranteed. So there's 2 things stopping you from rolling the dice, which is the fun part of it.
Right.
So I think for this game to really be great, more money is needed throughout the game so you could upgrade things constantly. And since, again, you need the gold cards, because I do think you need to be rolling 2 dice at some point. Everyone needs to be doing that, because that's the fun part, right? And I think the game should be like, you won that game, like, I don't know, 10-7 instead of like 1-0, which seemed to be like the average score of the game.
It was boring, and there were a lot of ties.
Yes.
Like, ties, fine to have a tie mechanic, but it shouldn't be like half of the games you play are ties.
Yes. So, yeah. So, I mean, Golden Cup, if you don't allow me to house rule this, or if this does not come out with expansion, it's a dodge.
Yeah.
If you do allow me to house rule this game, and if I ever play this game, I will 100% house rule it. I will take off that stadium token immediately, or take off the expensive cost upgrading the stadium. I'll do one of the 2. And then I think it'll be a very fun game. Then it gets to play. So with a house rule, this is definitely a line between a dodge and a play. So if I sit down at the table with this and you're like, we have to play it as the game is, I'm not playing it. But if we're sitting down at the table and you're like, oh, we're going to do this because this would make the game better, then I am playing it. So it gets a light play for me because I think it has potential. It just needs to be eroded. And I think they will. So,
yeah, that's fair. I agree with all that. I just don't think it's my type of game on top of that. So it's a hard dodge for me. I don't like games where you set something up and it just kind of auto plays itself from there.
Yeah.
Half of the time at the table was just like things you have no control over. And you're just like, what's going to happen? It reminds me of that game like Strike or something where like you're just throwing dice for 20 minutes. Like, what happened? I don't know, the dice. So, well, that's I understand why that's fun to people. So I'm not trying to yuck anybody's yum. It's just for me personally, I don't enjoy that. So it's a dodge for me.
Yeah, I think that's why you need to be able to constantly upgrade your characters. Because if you can't constantly upgrade your cards, like you can play cards out to your board, but then at some point those cards retire and you have to upgrade. Because again, the fun part of challenges, which is also for me like that absolutely dodge/play situation, and I've played it a lot on Board Game Arena. You could take a look at my stats on that. It's the same kind of thing, Anthony. I agree with you. Like, it's auto play, but the fun part is the deck building. I need deck building. I need tableau building here. So let me do that. Let me get gold cards out there. Maybe even throw a manager deck in there to kind of like, maybe the manager is the mitigating die roll. Maybe it gives you +1 or something else. So mini expansion, people. I'm giving game and / legal advice this whole episode. So mitigate the money and maybe add a coach, and I think it'd be fine. But otherwise, the game in of itself, it's probably a dodge. But if you could fix a couple of things, Simone, I would really appreciate this. Cranial Creations, good game. Just make it a little bit better, please. Errata / mini expansion that is not expensive. All right, well, that's our roll for preview and our roll for review. Now, on to our feature review, the voice of the gamers. Of course, they're getting involved, they're getting down. It's the BGA Fantasy Board Game Draft, month number 1, Anthony.
Month number 1, yeah. So let's go back in time a little bit to mid-January when we held our first draft. We had 10 participants, and an 11th joined us at the end because there were some additional games and they were able to kind of to hop on and participate, and drafted a total of 52 games.
Whoa,
so
that's a lot of games.
Yeah. So like, we had our list at the beginning of the year, our most anticipated list. I think that list was 61. We trimmed a few off of it for games that were like already out, and that are just on the hotness anyways. I just didn't feel like those were fair to have up there. And we narrowed it down to 52, and people drafted them over the course of about a 2-3 hour block on a Saturday afternoon. It was a lot of fun. So big shout out to everybody who joined us and participated, whether in the draft or just in the chat, because it was a lot of fun. So a bunch of people have asked about it. We'll be doing it again in the future, so you can stay tuned. But for now, we're going to look at this draft. Today, we're going to run through those 11 teams, including ourselves, because we were, by default, software requirement on the platform. We have a team, so everybody's competing against BGA. And you can, root for a team or maybe pick your own games from this list. The tracking spreadsheet where we're putting the points and each team's how they're scoring will be posted in the show notes. So if you want to take a look at that and see how they're doing, by all means, you can do that. Kind of follow along. And then every month we're going to hop on here and have one of these episodes. And this is kind of our update and refresh for the BGG hotness, because we are looking at the hotness, but we're updating this list and talking about the games that were most anticipated. So this month, we're going to be looking through this list of 52 games and talking about it in context of the current hotness. Future months will be a little bit more focused on the hotness than like what updates are happening to this list.
Sounds good. All
right, let's dive in. So this is in alphabetical order because I don't remember the draft order, and I'm sorry. So this is what happens. Our first team owner, Adam, drafted 4 games, and they are in alphabetical order, I suppose. Chicago 68, Clans of Caledonia Industria, the new expansion. It's coming later this year. Hands in the Sea, the second edition, coming later this year. And then Kemet Rise of the Gods.
Okay.
So none of those are on the hotness yet.
Sure.
So no points yet. That doesn't mean anything, because later they could pop up there. I will say there's only a very small handful of games that scored points this month.
Sure.
Because most of these haven't come out yet.
Well, you got to play the long game.
Exactly.
Yes. January's a weird month.
January is a weird month, and it often has a bunch of like random drops.
Mm-hmm.
Like we just talked about the new Lord of the Rings pandemic game. There was FinSpan that ate up a bunch of oxygen.
Yes.
There's always the crowdfunding shipments that are not on our anticipated list because those are games that came out last year. So it's a funny thing, but this month, going forward, this month and next month should be interesting. All right, next up we have Andrew. Andrew's list consists of Food Chain Magnate Special Edition. I'm interested to see if this holds on the hotness. It has a separate listing on Board Game Geek, but will people just go look at the old listing, or will they be posting here?
I wish I could sit down with BGG and be like, why?
I know.
Like,
it's the same game mechanically. That was the selling point. It is the same game mechanically.
And that was plastered literally everywhere. I mean, maybe they're doing the publisher a favor here. That's the only thing I could think about as far as that's concerned. Like, maybe they want to list it differently because publishers require that or need that for their own promotion. And maybe, I don't know, maybe Splotter doesn't want to lose their image or images on their page. But yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, it really doesn't. There's no posts in the forum threads there. So this one's tough.
It's an interesting pick. Like you said, it could come in really hot and people could pick it up. It could blow up like brass. Or, again, one of the things we did talk about, it's very nice and shiny, but it is a very hard teach and it is a very long game. And people might have picked it up for the shininess of it, not realizing the crunch of it.
Right. Yeah. We'll see how the reviews roll in when that starts going. So that's an interesting one. And we are just looking at that particular posting too. Like we can't give points for like Food Chain Magnet. That one's in the hotness all the time.
Yes.
Great Western Trail El Paso.
Okay.
This is the new Great Western Trail. It actually just went up on Board Game Arena in beta like this week.
Oh, that might help. That might help the hotness.
Yeah, it's not on the hotness yet, but I have a feeling by next week we might see it up there.
Okay.
House of Fado.
Okay.
I think this is the new. Pardon me while I search, but this is the new Lacerda Martin's joint from Eagle Griffin game, but the lighter Lacerda game.
Yep.
So Lacerda is always going to be up there somewhere. So it'll be interesting to see when that one ships.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one too, because I think it'll get a lot of attraction. Again, I'm not. We'll see if it succeeds or disappoints people when it hits the table.
Yeah, because Mercado de Lisboa, I feel it was a disappointment. But we'll see. Speakeasy.
Yes.
So they got the other Lacerda. This is the big one, though.
And the question is, will one suck out the oxygen for the other?
Yeah, it depends on when they ship. I'm interested to see, like, with 2 of these shipping this year. Like, this is the big one, and Lacerda games ship roughly a year after the campaign runs, so probably we'll see it towards the end of the summer. So I don't know. This will definitely be in the hotness when it comes out. It's just better when it comes out and how many months it stays up there.
Sure.
Transgalactica. This is what is this? It's Tashini, right? So and from Devere, so it's got just a really cool artwork. Devere games in general have been up on this list a lot lately. So I would not be surprised to see this up there for a while. Yeah,
Devere is very hot right now. A lot of small games, make a lot of attention.
Yeah. So I would, Andrew, great list.
Yeah,
solid 5 there. Becky has 5 games as well. First up, we have La Pâtissière Rococo.
Yes, very nice.
We just saw a copy of this at Level Up.
Yeah,
did not get a chance to play though.
No, and this is again a lighter version of Rococo. So just like we talked about the Lacerda, this seems to be a way. We've talked about this a couple of months ago, I think, which is weird, right? Because you would think it'd be like, hey, let me release a nice small game and get people's attention and then bring the heavy version. But it's like, heavy version that did really well. Can you make it smaller and simpler?
Right.
Yes, we can, but will it hit? Will it
why? Burn? Who's it for? Yeah. And sometimes it hits, so who knows, right? Yeah, so that's an interesting one. Propolis. This is the new kind of flat out games with the bees.
More bee games. Bees are the new birds.
Bees are hot this year. Bees versus fish, man. Yeah, bees versus fish here.
The bees are there like, you got a wingspan game, huh? Where are the ones with the wings? What the heck's going on here, guy?
You could have done bee span.
I know. There's a lot of bees out there. They're awesome.
Yeah.
We are pro bee.
We don't live without bees, guys.
No. Unlike a lot of other podcasts out there, we're pro bee.
We're pro bee. Yeah.
Yes.
We're not anti bee.
No. A lot of them are, sadly.
Yeah. All right. Becky also has Santorini Pantheon Edition.
Okay.
big fancy Santorini. I'm excited. Tycoon India 1981.
Ooh, okay.
And Wine Cellar.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
That seems like that's going to be really interesting because that could blow up like Wingspan, because there's a whole group of people that are just all about that and not board gaming. So it could burn up quite big, or it just might fall flat.
Yeah, I mean, it was crowdfunded. It's 25th Century. They do well. It's very pretty. It's got Detroit artwork. It's an auction game, so it's short, so it'll get a lot of play at the convention season. I would be interested to see that, because I think those small games that people can carry around with them that hit right before like June, July, and then they just get played a lot over like Gen Con and Essen and everything, like those really blow up.
We shall see.
Anyways, that is Becky's 5.
Nice
next
job,
up we have
Becky.
Charlie's List. Charlie has 5 games as well. Charlie's List is Above and Below Haunted.
Okay. I'm a big fan of Above and Below.
Above and Below, the new one, the kind of spooky one.
It's my favorite Ryan Lockett.
Nice. Coming of Age, the new Danny Garcia game from Ludonova.
Nice, like it.
Revenant, the sequel to Voidfall. I'm very excited about that one.
There's your big game right there.
Yeah, that'll be on the hotness for sure. Sweet Lands, the big, heavy-looking Euro about a city made of candy.
The very expensive, very beautiful production. And yeah, I always love these games where the games that really do quite well on the hotness are the ones that are like really dynamic and crunchy, but also gorgeous.
Yeah.
And that is one of those games. But also, again, like I mentioned about Fuche Magnet, that's the rub, right? Like, it could be too fancy and like people might not know it's super crunchy.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I don't know. I want this one to be big because I want to track it down. I did not back it, and I don't plan on going and finding an expensive copy of it, but I would like to try it. It looks cool. Charlie also, for their 5th game, has The Queen's Dilemma. It's a sequel to The King's Dilemma. King's Dilemma was amazing, but it came out right before the pandemic, and a lot of people didn't finish their campaigns because of it. So,
no.
Big social game.
That's a pretty big dilemma.
Yep.
Just saying.
Nice. Chris, next up. Chris, listener, not Chris, you. I know. Well, you have a team too. It's coming.
I do? Excellent.
Yeah. So Chris's list, it consists of Nature.
Okay.
The new Evolution spinoff.
Very good. That's a solid game.
Yep. Panda Spin.
Sure.
Yeah, we joked about this one before,
Yes.
but people are excited about it for sure.
People like their pandas.
Absolutely.
Not as much as they like their bees.
Right. Well, you don't know. Pandas versus bees. Let's find out.
Oh, that's a tough one.
Rise of Babel.
That's good.
Yeah, we saw a bit of this in preview at PAX. People were digging it.
Yep.
Treasure Ship of Zhenghei. It's the new Sashi Hayashi game. It's on Kickstarter right now, so I wouldn't be if it's going to hit the hotness, it's going to be soon. So for your sake, Chris, I hopefully that Kickstarter does well. It's got a couple weeks left, so we'll see next week if you get the point on that.
Excellent.
And then Unmatched Adventures, TMNT, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So a campaign game of Unmatched with the Ninja Turtles.
I've heard of those guys.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. They painted some stuff. Wait, that's not right.
Okay.
This is Scene Capital, right? That's them?
I guess. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, Michelangelo.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Dave. Dave has 4 games on the list. Astern. That's the first one up here. We have Cyclades Legendary Edition.
Yay, fancy.
Yeah, that should actually come out this year because it was on our list last year and it didn't make it. Elden Ring, the board game, I think is a savvy pick because people are mad at it, and that always pushes it up the hotness.
Yeah, I like when you used to do the BGG hotness, and you're like, this is high on the list because people are really angry.
Yeah. There's always a couple of those. You're like, oh, what is that game? Why is it there? 3.4 rating. Oh, people are mad.
Yeah, people are suing about this game. You're like, oh, okay.
That'll do it. Okay, hotness.
Yep.
So it's supposed to ship in like 3 months, so we'll see. Maybe the game's good too, and then it'll be on the list for other reasons. And then Ley Lines, the new Arcane Wonders game from Wolfgang Kramer. So it's the re-implementation of Ausch.
easy for you to say, man.
Yeah,
Bless
it
you.
is. On the Road. It's the big trucker game, but now it's fantasy.
Yes.
So yeah, that should be fun. Drew's list. 5 games here. Drew has DC Superheroes United, which
Okay.
any game backed by like 30,000 people is probably going to hit the hotness.
It's got a good IP, man.
Gloomhaven 2nd Edition.
Interesting.
Any game 30,000 backers bound to be on the hotness.
A little bit.
I see a trend here, Drew. Nemesis Retaliation.
Oh, playing all the favorites, huh?
Yeah. Root, the Homeland expansion.
All right. This seems unfair.
And World Order.
Okay.
So I think Drew's strategy coming in here must have been, what games had the most backers? These are all crowdfunded, and they all had tens of thousands of backers. So
Yeah, Drew did his scouting report clearly.
yeah, if these games all ship this year, they will all hit the hotness. Well done.
But will they ship?
Yeah, that is the question. World Order is probably the big question mark on that group.
It's not like there's an embargo or anything, or
Yeah,
trade wars, or
Yeah, well, that's true. Will anything ship this year, or it's going to sit in a warehouse until tariffs expire? Who knows?
Madeira, no.
No. Yeah, that's why Madeira is not coming. That's it.
It would explain a lot.
All right, next up we have Nick. Nick has 4 games, including Australis, a sea turtle game from Cosmos.
Okay.
Cyberpunk 2077, the board game, which was the highest funded game on GameFound last year. So
Sure.
Lots and lots of people backed that one. Good pick. Formaggio, the standalone sequel to Fromage. And Fromage is on the hotness right now, so I would not be surprised to see Formaggio on there later. And then Knights of the Round Table. Good old King Arthur game.
He's making a comeback.
He is.
Mhm.
So yeah, that one's exciting. And then we get on to the 3 teams currently in the lead for the league, each with 1 point.
Oh boy.
So we have 3 teams here that have picked games. Each of them have 1 point. They have made it onto the list. First up, Ryan D. Ryan D has Luthier,
Okay.
the new one from the Distilled team. Looking forward to that one.
Super
I didn't back
fancy.
it because it was like $4 million, but it's gonna be good.
Sure.
Scara Bray. This is the new Shem Phillips game.
Okay.
One of the new Shem Phillips games. He makes like 3 a year. So kind of the Neolithic Scotland.
Nice.
Looks cool. Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era. This is the one that is currently on the hotness. So this is how it works, folks. I check every week when we record the episode, not on the episode, but like before we get on, when we're prepping. I check the list, compare it against our spreadsheet, and then I give a point that week for the month if the game is on the list. So it's 1 point per month. If it's there multiple weeks, they don't get multiple points. Just 1 point per month. So I'm saying this for multiple reasons. 1, so you know how it works, transparency and all that. 2, so that if you're on there like a Tuesday and you're like, you didn't give me credit and it's on here and it's a number 48, and it's I can't check every day. So it's not a reasonable thing to do. So it is once a week, and I know that it kind of rotates a little bit. But if the game is good, if it's up there on the hotness, it will stay there for a little bit.
Very good.
So the Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era. This is the Chip Theory game, and people are very excited about it. I don't know if that's because it's getting into people's hands or they're just psyched about it. But there you have it, folks. It's got an 8.9 rating already. So,
Wow.
people are loving them some. Not too many bones, but Elder Scrolls.
I mean, they've always done a very good production, and now you have a super popular, famous IP. So why not, right?
Right. Yeah. No, it's and it looks like it's shipping like now-ish, so it'd probably be up here for a bit.
Okay.
All right. Ryan's other 2 games, The Witcher: Path of Destiny, which is a great pick. Big GameFound campaign. Will be up here for a bit. And then Vantage, which is the new Stonemaier game.
Yes.
Which will be up here from the moment it launches until the end of the year, whatever that is.
Yeah, so. It's kind of hard too. With the hotness has always been a fickle list.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of support for certain designers, certain publishers, certain industries, certain IPs. And then, like you said, there's the unknown element of as far as will games ship. Will they get table time? Will they be too crunchy, too light?
Mm-hmm.
And will a game just piss people off so much that like they raise to the top number one and people love to have a little firestorm happen?
That's always the funny thing. Like, and when I was doing our list, because we're going to go over our list next, it made me wonder, like, are there games on here that I think people will be mad at? Is that how we should build this list?
Well, I think Elder Scrolls is one of them. I think could go the other way.
Yeah, I don't think it will.
Okay.
But I see what you're saying. Like, it could definitely be that way. I think that game will be up on the list for most of the year anyways. I think that was a very good pick from Ryan.
It could be on the list for the other reasons. Like I'm saying, people are really invested in it.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah.
there's a lot of different rationales you could go with as far as why something hits the hotness and stays there.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, and that's what's fun about it. Like, why are people going to be excited about this? All right. So let's actually hold ours to the end, so that we can get all the listeners here up front.
Mm-hmm.
Tim has a list of 5 games here as well.
What you got, Tim?
Tim, number 1 on their list, Baghdad, the City of Peace.
That's his first draft pick?
That's his first draft pick.
That's a gutsy draft pick, Tim.
Yeah, it's on the hotness. Or it was on the hotness last week.
That Tim guy's really smart, man.
Yeah. So the crowdfunding campaign was running when it went up. It was on the hotness. It's not currently on the hotness as of today, but like 2 weeks ago when I checked, it was. So like I said, I check once a week.
Sorry, Tim. It's off the hotness.
Yeah, but he got the point for it. So, yeah.
You got the point, Tim. Good job.
Yeah.
You're back in, buddy.
Way to do it. Covenant, next one on the list. This is the new Devere game from Milan coming towards the end of the year. Again, Devere game's big. This will be on the hotness for sure later. Galileo Galilei. I think people are excited about this, but I think the fact that it's the SETI guy's second game is going to bring it up on the list.
Okay.
People are like, oh, the SETI guy. Let's check that out. It doesn't seem like people like this one cut as much, but it's the SETI guy.
I will say we were at Level Up and I was surprised. That was the game that I saw being played most.
SETI?
Yeah.
Totally. People are all about it. And so like Galileo, I don't know when this is going to hit the US shores. Soon, I would imagine, but it's been out for a while in Europe, so we'll see. I think it's a good pick.
Could also get sucked up by SETI. People might.
Ooh,
SETI.
That's true.
I don't know. Tim's getting a little weird there. I don't know, man.
What are you doing?
What are you doing, bro? What's going on? What's happening?
All right. Next up, Keyside. This is the David Turczi key game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, has there ever been any other key games before?
Like 11 of them.
Yeah, I know. So this guy's got a track record, is what you're saying.
Yeah, there should be more. It'll be fine. People like key games. I don't. Again, this is one of those. It's coming from R&D games and Hutch. Some of the times those games just don't make a big splash, but we'll see.
Can we do a top 10 list with the weirdest gimmicks in tabletop gaming? Because
naming all your games key something.
Yeah, or the T games. The T games are a
T
thing.
games. Yep. I just got an email from Board and Dice, and they're like, "Welcome to the T year," and I'm like, we're doing it again."
They're going. We thought we were free.
Yeah.
Why?
I thought he left. He's with Devere now. What are we doing?
They're just spiting him with a lowercase t, I guess.
I know. Well, they're bringing Trismegistus back, so maybe that's it.
I know. They were really like trying to be coy about that. They're like, we're bringing a T game back that like was amazing, but didn't really meet its mark. And we're like, oh, we all know what game that is.
We're well aware what you're talking about, sir.
Like, nice try there, buddy. We know exactly what that is.
Yeah. I remember having a meeting with them at Gen Con in like 2019, and they're like, this game is going to be it. This is the next year. Everybody's going to love this game. And they showed it to me, and I was like, that seems cool, but I don't quite, what's this? And I can't read the symbol on this die, and these are the same color. And the first time teaching that game was like pulling teeth.
I remember that, again, we play so many games, I've lost track at this point. You have to kind of really remind me. I remember this because I think we had 2 separate people pre-read the rule book before the game day.
Right.
And then came in and we were like, we don't know. And the other ones were like, the rest of us were like, what? And then we watched a video of somebody trying to explain the game and then going in the video like, I don't know. Like, famously going just like, I guess this is how you do it. And then playing the game and then having to go back onto BGG to try to figure out certain rules and things. And we all wanted to love the game, but it was just weirdly, fundamentally, kind of strangely broke in certain places.
Yeah.
Especially the rule book.
Yeah, mostly the rule book. The
Yeah.
game works if you can finally figure it out, but that was the barrier. Like, I don't know how to play the game, so who knows if it's good at it or
Which
not,
is the
you know?
most fundamental part. It's like,
It was bad.
like you got to get the rule book right, man. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I know. I remember when I was selling off my stuff, and I'm like, somebody wants this? Okay, you can have it.
It's a really cool idea for a game.
Yeah, no, it's an amazing idea for the game.
Yeah.
That's, I love the premise. So we'll see how the new one does. We are way off topic here.
Just like the game itself.
Exactly. Tim, your 5th game. I'm sorry, Tim. We're off topic. Windmill Valley Blooming Sales.
Bam! Brings it back.
Boom. Right. Windmill Valley, kind of a sleeper hit from last year. It was one of I think we picked it as our unexpected gem.
I did. I know we did, certainly, because
for the awards, yeah.
I think, it didn't get its attention and love that it deserved, and I think it's fantastic.
And it was out of print, and in that newsletter I was talking about, they just said they're bringing it back in print.
Okay.
So, expansion coming later. We'll see.
Love it.
All right, now our list, because we have a team as well.
We do. What's our
we
team
have
name? We need
top of the Iridia, the paths we dare tread.
Okay.
Yeah, this one's on the hotness. It's been on the hotness all January. So it's number 2.
All right, good pick, Anthony. Good pick.
Yeah, I put us last in the draft order. To be fair, I'll let everybody go first. And this was still available. And as soon as I picked it, 2 people in the chat were like, "I knew you were going to grab that." I'm like, "Yeah, it was still there. You should have picked it if you wanted it. I don't know." This is 2 free points. It's on the hotness in January. It's now February. It's in the hotness in February.
Oh, bro, he's using his game skills. Just saying.
I know. You got to game it, guys. So yeah, this is a big, sprawling adventure type thing. Bunch of people paid a bunch of money for it on Kickstarter. You know the deal.
Yeah.
But it looks good. But that's not why I drafted it. I drafted it because I knew this kind of game would be up here for a while.
Ah, okay.
Galactic Cruise. This game that's been being promoted for 3 years.
It has been. Jeez.
It will be shipping in the next 2-3 months. I think it will definitely hop on the list when it does.
Okay.
Molly House from Cole Whirly's Whirligig Games, and a lot of buzz around the game. Also, a lot of kerfuffle around the game. A lot of discussion around the game. I'm very excited to play this, and I think it'll definitely be in the hotness. Just there'll be a lot of chatter.
Okay.
For sure. Stupor Mundi. This is getting towards the bottom of our list.
Our later draft picks.
Yeah, later draft picks. This is a new Nestor Mangoni game. Had a decent amount of backers. Very pretty, but also very expensive. Unfortunately, you're physically building out your castles, which is cool, but expensive. So we'll see how many people actually backed it.
Okay. And
then the Anarchy. So this is another game from Garp Hill Games, and Bobby Hill, the designer here. So it's kind of like a reimplementation, redevelopment, expansion on Hadrian's Wall, which is kind of a sleeper hit in the gamer community.
Okay.
So Iridia, that's going to get us a few points for the year.
All right.
Guarantee it. The rest, we'll see.
See if we could hold out. These people made some really good picks.
Yep.
Kind of worried.
So we've got Ryan D, Tim, and Team BGA all have 1 point right now.
Woo!
We got 11 months to go, so it doesn't mean anything, but just up front, we're on it. We're doing it.
We're tied.
Yeah. So if you want to see that full list, check out the show notes. I will put the link in there to the spreadsheet. You can view it. And we will be updating this once a week, like I said.
Yeah. Cheer for your favorite team. Let us know which one those are. And hopefully your team gets there. Again, we happen to be Team BGA, but everyone here playing the league is Team BGA, so we appreciate everyone joining on board. All right, everyone. Until next time, this is Chris.
And this is Anthony.
And we'll save you all a seat at the table. Take care, everyone.
Fun.